What's going on, guys, and welcome back to my audio review of AEW Collision here today for August 12th, 2023. I am Graham Jason Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend so far. Obviously, I was in Detroit last week for SummerSlam weekend, missed watching the show live and doing an audio review on Sunday. I was hoping to do an audio review that day, but I didn't fly back until late on Sunday, so I just didn't have a chance. Did catch up on the show after the fact. A terrific Collision last week. AEW did not roll over and die, despite SummerSlam airing opposite of the show last Saturday night. The ratings were not great. It was like 400,000. The show that I was at 2 weeks ago ended up doing like 700-something thousand viewers for that show 2 weeks ago, headlined by MJF and Cole versus FTR for the AEW World Tag Team titles. Again, despite SummerSlam airing opposite of the show last week, a great show. Not so great this week for August 12th, 2023. A very good show. I enjoyed this episode. Felt like one of the weaker additions that Collision has had so far. So we open up the night with Tony Schiavone interviewing Ricky Starks in the ring, coming off of Starks' brutal beatdown of Ricky Steamboat last week on the show during the Punk and Starks AEW quote-unquote real world championship matchup. Starks attacking Steamboat after the fact with like a belt or whatever, just whipping the guy. We found out here from Schiavone that Starks is suspended from competition for the next 30 days, so evidently that means he's missing All In and All Out, at least in the ring. So Starks did say here he was applying for a manager's license, so it looks like he might still be appearing on the show, just in a managerial role. Who that person might be, I don't know. Could he be linking back up with Powerhouse Hobbs or someone else? We'll soon see. I thought this was a great promo from Starks, though I'm really happy that he's grown into the role of being one of the faces of this show. And it's only been on the air for almost 2 months now, but already Starks feels like one of the biggest faces on this show. Not like baby faces, because he's a heel now, clearly. But he feels like one of the guys on this show, unlike when he was on Dynamite, which it's just great to see. And he had opportunities on Dynamite in various feuds with Hobbs and MJF, among other people. But really on Collision, he's come into his own as a main event player. So I thought this was great. Love the intensity and passion in his voice. We'll find out what's coming up next for him. Starting next week, he did say he was declaring war on what? I don't know. We might see him on Dynamite next week. We might see him on Collision. But I guess we'll find out as soon as early as next week. The Acclaimed were in action after that against the Iron Savages of Ring of Honor. They've also appeared a lot over the years on AEW Dark and whatnot. They're an impressive team. The issue with Iron Savages, the former Bear Country, is that they never win whenever it matters most. They've been on Dynamite and Rampage a handful of times. I can't tell you the last televised match they won. They've been on Ring of Honor TV quite a bit, winning those matches and whatnot. They had a great match about a week ago with Aussie Open. I was there for that taping 2 weeks ago at Collision, and they were on this week's Collision on the actual broadcast, not for Ring of Honor TV. And it was a good match. They look good in defeat, but again, it's hard to take these guys seriously. This kind of felt like an extended showcase for the Acclaimed, who for the first time in about a year were without Billy Gunn. They're still pushing the retirement angle and that he's done. He's clearly coming back. At what point, we don't know. But they're doing fine just without him, as so far anyway. I'm honestly more in favor of the two going out on their own and doing their own thing than linking back up with Billy Gunn, who I just feel like is an unnecessary part of the act in 2023. But still, the crowds continue to go crazy for the Acclaim, so there is that. So it's not like they're dead in the water without him, with him, or whatever. We had women's tag team action after that. The AEW TBS champion Kris Statlander teaming up with Willow Nightingale after what happened the week before. Taking on and losing to the duo of Diamante and Mercedes Martinez. So Martinez unsuccessfully challenged Statlander last week for the TBS championship. They had the tag team match this week. A good match, a well-worked matchup, a pleasantly surprising outcome. I thought Statlander and Nightingale would win, and that would be the end of it. But no, actually, the heels won with Martinez pinning Nightingale, and that's going to be leading to Diamante and Nightingale for the first time ever one-on-one next week on Collision. So, good stuff here. Glad to see Diamante and Martinez getting TV time. They were another two that we never saw on Dynamite. Maybe when Martinez first debuted in early 2022, I think, late 2021, she showed up on the show a couple of times in the first half of the year. She then went to Ring of Honor, won the Ring of Honor Women's Championship, and she was kind of relegated to that show. And she's missed a lot of time due to injuries and just other stuff going on personally, I guess. But she's back now, and she's on Collision working with Statlander and Nightingale, two of the most popular women's baby faces they have on that roster right now. So I like where they're going with this, probably leading to another Martinez-Statlander match, maybe Diamante and Statlander for the TBS Championship. It is interesting that the Women's Championship is more of a staple on the Wednesday show, and the TBS title is more of a staple on the Saturday show, which airs on TNT. So a little bit weird, but still glad to see the women getting some TV time here. Samoa Joe making quick work of Andrew Everett, who we beat in a matter of minutes here. I think I saw Everett on Ring of Honor TV. Maybe this past week, last week, I don't remember. But he beat Everett pretty decisively and quickly here. It was not really about the match, but rather the post-match challenge from Joe to Punk. He outright challenged Punk to a rematch at All In. Last week on the show, Punk did not respond. He had nothing to say to Samoa Joe later on in the night when he faced Ricky Starks. Kind of ignored him, a lot like MJF is ignoring CM Punk right now, and the fact that he's walking around with a replica World Championship, but I guess it's just not time to go to that feud yet from a realistic standpoint. From a storyline standpoint, why MJF would just ignore Punk walking around with a replica of his World Championship, I don't know. But anyway, Joe again issued a challenge to Punk and said that if he had to, he would convince him to face him at that show. So more on that later. We had Christian Cage in the ring alongside the actual TNT champion, Luchasaurus. You would never know because Christian's the one that carries the championship, acts like a champion. He's the real attraction of this combo, of this act. Not so much Luchasaurus, who I like, but I mean, his reign is a complete afterthought. Case in point, this segment went downhill after Arn and Brock Anderson came out. Yes, they are still on the roster. AEW clearly has had no fucking clue what to do with Arn Anderson since Cody Rhodes left last year. Not that Cody Rhodes ever really needed the manager to begin with, but being linked up with Arn since the beginning of AEW a couple of years ago gave Arn some purpose on the show, and we saw Arn on the show quite a bit, having back and forths with other, wrestlers and managers. He has done a whole lot of fucking nothing since early 2022. He was on the show with Wardlow opposing Christian back in the spring. I think that was the last time we saw him on the show, and Christian even made mention of that here. I really don't give a fuck about Brock Anderson. He's just not interesting to me at all. AEW has 1 million people under contract. There are at least 20 to 30 people I would rather see showcased and spotlighted on these shows than Brock fucking Anderson, who's not bad, but he's just not interesting at all. So he got, for whatever reason, an impromptu TNT title opportunity on this show against Luchasaurus. Basically an extended squash, a glorified squash here match, squash win for Luchasaurus. And that was it. The match was what it was. Don't really care, but we did find out after the fact when Allin attacked Luchasaurus and Christian Cage. Next week on Collision, for the first time ever, Darby Allin one-on-one with Christian Cage, which I'm really looking forward to. That should be a great match. We don't see Christian in the ring often enough, but that should be a really fun match. Hobbs was out in the ring up next, kind of just addressing the audience, and we found out that he wants to challenge at All In. I think All In, maybe All Out, I don't remember what the exact... Might have been All Out, I don't remember, but he challenged Miro to a match. So both of these guys have been on Collision pretty consistently since the show launched. But we just don't really know what they're doing right now. Hobbs at one point teased tension with QTV, and then he wasn't, and now they're back on the same side. Miro got attacked by Aaron Solo backstage 2 weeks ago. I don't know if he was on the show last week. He also has been doing a whole lot of nothing since coming back. What else is new? So I like this idea a lot. I don't think we've seen Miro and Hobbs one-on-one yet, so it's a fresh match. The Hobbs promo wasn't great, but I was glad they gave him mic time. I thought he fared well enough. Wasn't a great promo by any means, but I thought he did decently enough. And I like the angle. So we had fucking Aaron Solo out there, Nick Camarado, which is just terrible. I mean, it's basically the factory. They said, we're breaking up the factory. We don't want these people getting hate for no reason. We have the factory still. It's Aaron Solo, QT Marshall, and Nick Camarado. He helped Aaron Solo attack Miro here. Marshall didn't appear, and there was no Cole Carter or whoever the fuck was also that was in that group, Lee Johnson. But still, the crowd didn't care. It was basically the factory. But anyway, so Hobbs got the better of Miro after Miro attacked both Solo and Nick Camarado. So kind of laying Miro out here. Didn't make the match official. Again, I forget whether it was the All Out match or All In. I don't remember which show it was made official for, but it's not even made official at all. But I assume that will be the match for one of those two shows, and you'll get no complaints out of me. It gets them on the shows, gives them something to do. Hopefully from there, we get more of Hobbs and Miro on this show. And then already it was time for our main event, a AEW World Trios Championship 6-man tag team match. House of Black, all three members, defending against the real world champion, self-professed, CM Punk, and the AEW World Tag Team Champions, FTR. Excellent main event, got a ton of time, almost 30 minutes. It would have been nice if we heard more from Punk and FTR or even House of Black prior to the matchup. The match was made official. It was announced last week on Collision for no real reason at all. I mean, Punk and FTR have had one 6-man tag since Punk came back. They had another match where they teamed up against Bullet Club Gold, and I think someone else, maybe Samoa Joe or whatever it was. I think it was the Guns, Jay White, and and Juice Robinson a couple of weeks ago, and they won that match, did the heels. So they didn't really do anything to earn this opportunity. It was a random attraction match, and it was a great match. I don't want to complain too much, but it would have been nice if we found out why the match was happening, aside from using it as a backdrop to set up Punk and Joe. Because towards the end of the match, Punk was not the legal man, but he was by the barricade and got choked out by Joe. So as a result, he couldn't go break up the pin. When House of Black got the better, I think it was one of the members of FTR, obviously. They outnumbered them and ended up winning the match, retaining the title. So a great match, good finish to the show, kind of predictable after what Joe teased earlier in the episode, but it was logical in setting up Punk and Joe for All In, hopefully, which should be an amazing matchup. So a good show this week, not a great show. I am glad that, a lot like with Dynamite, they're doing a better job of building to All Out and All In. Specifically All In. All Out, we really have no fucking clue what they're doing beyond Darby Allin challenging Luchasaurus for the TNT Championship, and maybe Miro and Hobbs. Again, I forget whether they said that was for All In or All Out. And again, that's a match that kind of came out of nowhere too. They had no... I guess Miro was already feuding to a degree with QTV. Again, Solo attacked him 2 weeks ago, so it's not completely random, but still, it could use a bit more build than what we've gotten so far, obviously. But I did like the show. The Joe promo was great. The women's tag was solid. The Acclaim match was what it was. The Starks promo was great to open up the show. The main event was excellent. And I just enjoyed the 2 hours overall. Collision remains the easiest show to watch weekly, even over SmackDown and Raw, including Dynamite. And I thought SmackDown on Friday was a better show than this. It was a fantastic Friday night show. Broke it down here on the channel on Saturday, so check that out. But Collision, just the quickest 2 hours you'll watch. I like the pacing. The commentary and the camera cuts could be better at times. I like Ian Riccaboni and Nigel McGuinness. They're making some mistakes. The camera cuts aren't always the greatest. They're missing key moments in some of these matches, which is a problem. Again, beyond that stuff, I'm enjoying Collision. It's a great show. Not the best show this week, but enjoyable enough. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Also, hitting the bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. New Collision reviews pretty much every Sunday here on the channel. We didn't break down the first one 2 months ago. We didn't break down last week because I was away. But we should continue to be breaking down the show in the weeks going forward. So again, I think next week, yeah. In 2 weeks, I'm not sure. I will be away that week, so I don't know yet. Probably not. Because All In is that Sunday, so probably not in 2 weeks. Also, the show is so early, so probably not in 2 weeks, but I will probably have a Collision review up next week. Keep an eye out for my Dark Side of the Ring review coming up at some point, either later today or tomorrow. Have a great one, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.